Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you joined us for this adventure.
So today we have a repeat guest, and I'm super excited because it's been a year since he's joined us. So thank you so much for joining us, Josh Ferrari.
Yeah, heck yeah. Happy to be here. Even though we had to reschedule a couple of times, we made it happen.
Yeah. That's just the story of our life.
We think it's 2022, but in England, with the economic crisis, everything that's happening right now, as it's being reported in October, they're also having an internet crisis, so it's impossible to actually get internet installed. So we'll put a pin in that. Maybe we'll get back to the economic crisis happening later in this episode. But there's a lot that's happened since last we talked to Josh. So last episode was episode 38, and that was aired on October 26th of 2021, to be specific. So a year ago. And what's really cool is during that entire episode, we talked about vivid vision, what it means to create a vivid vision, how you do it like that. So go back to the episode and dive into that, re-listen to that. And to learn more about Josh as well, give him a couple minutes to give a brief update about, or not a brief update, but a little bit of background about himself. To get the full background, please go check out that episode. But there's been a lot that's happened since we talked to Josh, obviously capitalizing on vivid vision. Left his W-2, so we'll get into that. He had a baby. There's a lot of things that we'll get into this episode here. And he's only 25 years old, ladies and gentlemen. So, adventurous family, wait no longer. Here's Josh Ferrari. Josh, would you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about your background, please? Thank you, sir.
Shoot, yeah, man. So actually, we had the baby 7 days before it aired on October 19th. So we obviously interviewed before it aired, but technically we had the baby for almost a year. She'll be a year on October 19th this month.
That's awesome.
But I guess what's happened, or just a little background, is 25, started investing in the business in January of 2018 when I had just turned 21. Of course, no previous background or prior experience in the business, but jumped into it anyway, got really intrigued from my dad, who introduced me to the concept of real estate investing because he said he was going to do it. So my wife and I jumped into wholesaling, tried that for like 6 months, didn't close any deals, pivoted, bought a fourplex. That was to house hack it, make a little bit of money, live for free, do the stack, right? Sell the 4 unit, buy an 8, sell it, buy a 16, eventually get to freedom. But of course, we were going to do that with our own cash because we just thought we were going to be wealthy. I don't know why we thought that, but that was the plan. And then the fourplex was a catastrophic nightmare. We lost 60 grand, learned a lot of valuable lessons. Through those lessons, one of the main things we learned was that we had no idea what we wanted, which is why we talked last time about the vivid vision.
Yeah.
After creating the vision, getting the clarity about what we wanted, we made the switch to large scale multi. That was probably 3.5 years ago. Fast forward 2 years, found a mentor throughout that time frame, found my 2 business partners. Then 22 months ago, we closed our first deal. It was a 42 unit here locally in Southern Alabama. And then over the last 22 months, we've closed over 650 units, $50 million assets under management, got another 45 million under contract. We got another deal under contract last week. I've had the privilege of raising about $15 to $20 million from various passive investors over the last 2 years. I started a podcast that's got over 500,000 downloads now. I've been able to meet a lot of really cool people like yourselves. You guys have been on my show. I was able to retire from the day job from corporate America at the age of 25, about 2 months ago from the time of this recording. And I started a mastermind about 4 months ago to help other people be able to achieve the same thing that I have, financial freedom, getting out of the day job, ultimately creating their own business, their own success in multifamily. And we've got about 18, 19 people in there now, and 3 of them have already closed their first deal, on to the second one. It's really incredible to see how quickly they've been able to see success. And I'm excited to be surrounded by those people and be able to be a part of their journey.
Oh, which is awesome. And thank you so much for that. I have a question. Did your vivid vision include all of this? Did it rocket ship it? Are you happy you wrote it?
I'm definitely happy I wrote it for sure. Let's see. It included, I'm looking at it right now. It included wanting $100 million by 2020, the end of 2023. So we're at 50 now with another 45 or so under contract. So if we can close everything we got, then we'll pretty much be there. So we're on the path to do that. Quit the day job. So that was included in there. So we did that. What else? I had that I wanted to scale the podcast in the Vivid Vision because I hadn't done the mastermind that I've done now. But I did call it masterminding across the US. So maybe it was like me thinking about something before I actually thought about it. Because now I've actually created a legitimate mastermind outside of just the podcast. So obviously the podcast has grown, that's grown. That wasn't necessarily in there, but I think it definitely plays a big part into what my goal was, similar to you guys, of just making a greater impact as opposed to just retiring and being like, cool, I'm retired, living life. I definitely say that there's a lot of things in here that I've accomplished that are included, and there's a lot in here that I haven't yet accomplished. So still a lot of work to do over the next, 16 months, 15 months, something like that.
No, I love it. I do. What has been, because a lot of people are like, yay, real estate both ways, passive and active, because a lot of people are still working, but maybe they just want to be full-time passive or full-time active. And I know we chatted about this a little bit before, but what has been the biggest challenge for you going into real estate full-time?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. The biggest challenge is just utilizing my time to the best of its ability. Because when you're working full time for someone else, you're being told what to utilize your time with Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday or whatever your shifts are. And you're there 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And then when you get off, you try to find some spare time here and there to work on your business, to ultimately get out, become financially free, do what it is that you want to do, achieve your goal. So then when the goal is achieved, it's like there's a new goal line now. You have to reset the post. The entire time you've been working towards this goal, the post has been right here, and you just crossed the finish line. So you're at the end of this triathlon marathon, and you're like, well, that was cool. I freaking made it to the finish line. I accomplished what I set out to do. Now what? Right? The question becomes, now what? What's the new goal? Where am I ultimately headed now? So to go back to what we were talking about earlier, I think the Vivid Vision's definitely helped with the guidance as far as what the new goal is and where we're headed. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't tell me how to get there, right? So the new struggle becomes, I have to best utilize my time and figure out how that's going to work, because I've never been a guy that works from home either. Always being an aircraft tech, it's not like I'm fixing planes in my house. So I always had to go somewhere.
Not yet.
Right. So now it's like, okay, I'm literally home almost all the time. So figuring out how to do the work-life balance now with the family and the baby, and when to take breaks, when not to take breaks, when to schedule myself, what's the new morning schedule? When do we wake up? When do we do this? When do you go work out? It's honestly been a big shift, a big lifestyle shift. That's been fantastic, right? So glad I did it. So glad I'm at this point and I have the freedom, because I've been, obviously, since it's only been 2 months, I'm still in communications with some of the people I used to work with. And they're like, dude, I'm so jealous. Because they knew what I've been working towards for years, but they were like, yeah, whatever, you'll get there. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But then I finally got there and they're like, oh my gosh, this is legit. This is real. Yeah, it is. You guys should have been following along with me. We should have been doing this together the whole time. But anyway, it's definitely come with new challenges, specifically surrounding time, figuring out how to best utilize that and not waste it. Because there's days, I think what you were talking about earlier, that you can feel guilty about feeling like you're not working and you're going on vacation and you're spending time doing these things. And you're just like, I should be working. I should be doing this and this. But you've earned the right. You've earned the ability to be able to take the time off and to do those things. So not feeling guilty and utilizing my time best is probably what I would say.
No, and thank you for sharing that.
And what is one thing that has helped you figure that out? What resource did you turn to, or what mentality did you have to come up with, whatever, what kind of scheduling day right now that you use in order to help you sort that out?
Good question. I didn't actually move towards any particular mindset shift or anything of that sort. I more so just tried to go to my wife and be like, what are we doing? Right? How do I best utilize what it is that I need to do, and figuring out what the time schedule is going to look like of, I'll try to take breaks here and I'll make sure that, the Calendly link or whatever isn't available at these times. And it's still an ongoing shift. It's only been 2 months. So it's still hey, wait, this doesn't really work. Let's change this to a different time and do this over here. Most of the times I don't even start working until 10 o'clock when my daughter goes down for a nap. So I just spend all morning, either some time to myself or trying to go work out in the morning, and then just spend time with family until 10 o'clock. When she takes a nap, it's all right, now it's time to work. But I'm so used to going to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is crazy, not working for these 4 hours. So honestly, it was just figuring it out with a family perspective, because the whole reason I got into it in the first place was to be able to spend more time with family again, have the freedom. So it's now that we've achieved it, let's achieve it, right? Let's not just keep working to the bone. Let's figure out how I can best spend time with the family and still keep the momentum of the business moving forward.
Yeah, and it's something that like stood up at what you just said was we used to start working at 6 and now it feels weird to not work. But I think too, if we think about like all the unpaid labor, which is like working on your marriage, working on yourself, working with your daughter, like is also huge. We just don't ever talk about that. Like that's part of our workday also. We've just been conditioned to believe that like those things are put aside for, I don't know, when people get home at night or on the weekends. But if anyone were to like take a step back and reflect like, one, what does working mean to me? And two, how do I want my time spent? I think they would get like a better picture of even not feeling guilty. One of my big things was that I wanted one day to like volunteer more than I work. And I'm like, okay, well then I have to actually do that. And like to me, volunteering is still working just in a different way. Like, cause that's just what makes me the happiest. And okay, well, if I'm the happiest then, and I allow myself to do that, then how much better am I when I come back to actually like do real estate work or come back to like spend time with Michael or with my family or anything else? We just don't really talk about that part enough either, just as a whole, full-time W-2, full-time real estate investor, full-time, any of the above words that you want to interject.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one other thing that you said earlier that I want to kind of look back to quickly is that you said, you know, when you hit the goal, you move the goal post forward. You find, okay, you cross the finish line. Okay, what's next, right? Keep moving that goal post. At what point do you stop moving the goal post?
Good question. And that may just go back to our topic of the vivid vision. You have to have the crystal clear clarity of what the end goal is. And when you hit the end goal, don't just move the post. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people you've set the goal with, which should be everyone. Everyone should know what your goal is. Your spouse, your family, everyone should know. So when the goal is hit and achieved, you're not like, okay, now I got to get back at it and do all this all over again. But on the flip side, it's going to be very difficult. You got to think about it. Someone that works and that is like an entrepreneur at heart and just grinds and hustles like all the time, to suddenly flip the switch when they hit the goalpost and not work is going to be like next to impossible, right? So you have to also be setting up your business and your life and slowly changing it while you go towards the goal. So when you hit the goal, you're not just like shifting life cold turkey and it's now just a new lifestyle that you've achieved working towards it. So you're not only achieving like the business, the finance, the marriage goal, whatever the goal is, you're also shifting the lifestyle and your capacity, your mindset to be able to be okay with working less and spending more time doing what it is you say you've always wanted to do, but you've never actually done it. So you may think you want to be financially free, but really you've just been okay your whole life hustling and working 12 hours a day. I had a phone call with a guy like 2 weeks ago who is like, I just love the grind. He's like, my problem is I just love the grind. I love what you're doing. I've been following you on social media for a while. I see that you're financially free. Congrats, right? You did the thing. That's something that I think I would ultimately want to do in the future. He said, my problem is I love my job and I love the grind. So how do I actually achieve what it is that you're looking to achieve if I don't have the lifestyle, like if I don't have the vision and the mindset to actually be able to even live out the lifestyle, even if I could achieve it?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good question. I didn't have an answer for it.
Well, yeah, it's tough, right? For entrepreneurs specifically like, but I guess maybe it's easier for people who just like work the W-2, don't really have that entrepreneur mindset or whatever. For me, for example, like after going on vacation for like 3 days, so I started itching, like, is there an email I need to answer? Get on there, check my email and clear my inbox out. I love a clear inbox. That's just me. If I get stressed out, if I don't have a clear inbox before we go on vacation. So like, yeah, but that's just me. Anyways, just a small tangent there.
Something I do want to also bring up again is when you were introducing yourself, you said you have raised like $15 to $20 million, which is quite a big chunk because the market has like changed. And by market, I mean almost like stock market economy might be a better word to use. Since you started this journey into where we're at now, has anything changed with your investors? Have you gotten, because a lot of people are in the stock market, are you educating out of that? Like, because we're talking about W-2 versus real estate professionals, right? And like a huge thing was with us, so we do love real estate and there's a reason for it. How are you tackling that? Or have you seen any challenges?
with like raising capital now in today's market. There's been a couple of changes, but honestly, I feel like I haven't seen the same things that other sponsors have seen when they're raising capital from their investors. So maybe it's just because the avatar of our investor is different than theirs. But our investor, I guess most of them aren't in the stock market. They're already educated to the point that they're like, I don't want any of my money in there in the first place. So maybe they have some in there in a retirement account, which could technically be seen as being in the stock market if they're invested in a mutual fund or something of the sort. But then they have the rest of their cash like in other investments already. And so, of course, outside the like either in real estate or in tech run up or whatever the case is, they have other investments elsewhere. So what I've actually seen is that this being the last year you can utilize 100% bonus depreciation. We've had a lot of investors be like, hey, look, I've got this massive tax bill coming up at me at the end of the year. I got $1.5 million that I really don't want to pay taxes on. Please just take it and do something with it. And so they're like, I just don't want to pay the taxes. So they're worried about the tax implications as bonus depreciation trickles down in the future years, which isn't even like a ton, it's just 20%. But even then, they're still worried about it, and they don't want to have to worry about paying any kind of tax bill. Then there's the people who just see inflation as it is, and they're like, man, the summertime over Q3, Q1, this whole year, inflation's been crazy, 8%, 9%, whatever it got up to. They're like, I need to have my money somewhere. It can't just be sitting where it's been sitting, or this investment over here is only returning like 4%. And inflation's been 9%. You're telling me you can give me a 10% pref, like at least you can keep pace with inflation. So they're pulling money out of other things and investing it so that at the very least they're outpacing inflation or keeping up with it. So they're not just losing money sitting somewhere, even if it's an investment, right? Like they have capital, it's in an investment somewhere, but it's still not keeping up with where inflation was at. So inflation was another thing that was having more investors, I think, come and be interested in investing. And honestly, it's just like every time I've had a conversation with a new investor, because there's what you hear in the market, right? There's what you hear on social media, people talking about it's more difficult to raise cash, it's difficult to do this, that, and the other. You can always take those things with a grain of salt because they could be telling the truth. They may be more experienced than you are if they've been doing it for a long time. But at the end of the day, for me, it's like I just need to actually get out in the market and have conversations with these people that will be investing to know that if it's really truly difficult to raise, like, is it? I don't know. Let me go poll my investors and talk to them about it. So after talking to them about the structure and the strategy of the type of deal that we utilize, which is what we call the perpetuity model. So we don't actually buy a deal and sell it in 5 years. We hold on to it for like 30 to 50 years. So when they found out the structure that we used and the actual way that I guess they're investing, what they're investing in, how they're going to get paid, what that was actually going to pan out to be over the course of a long time frame, a lot of them were like, I don't even care what's going on in the market right now. This investment is a generational investment for the next 30 to 50 years. Like I am going to just put the cash in it. I'll pull cash from wherever I can pull cash from. And I want to watch this cash grow. Like I want the passive income. I want whatever it is that they're looking to achieve, the long-term tax benefits. That's another thing. Because since we're holding for so long, it's like, hey, you're going to get tax benefits for 27 and a half years. And they're like, oh, shoot, I need tax benefits for life. I don't want to pay taxes. So that's been another thing. And having more and more conversations with even newer investors outside of the investors already in our list, you could say. Like I had a phone call with a guy the other day who thought he wanted to be active. He thought he wanted to be an active investor. He was excited about learning. He just wanted to have a conversation with me after some things he had seen me post on social media.
Yeah.
And the deeper we got into the conversation, the more I realized he just wanted to be a passive investor. And when we figured out he wanted to be a passive investor, he was like, yeah, I've got $1 million in an old retirement account. Like, can I actually put that into something? I'm like, yes, you can put retirement account money into a real estate investment. And it was, I guess, education is another thing. There may be a lot of investors out there that are scared because of what they see on social media or because of what they see on the news or things going on with the markets. They don't know what to do with their cash. Literally just educating them on what's possible and how you can actually benefit them or how real estate can benefit them could be the difference between you finding out that they've got $1 million. Like, I didn't know this dude had any cash. I just thought he was just Joe Blow trying to become active and I was going to help him any way that I could. Come to find out he's got loads cash just sitting on the sidelines, making him no money. And he was like, well, shoot, put me on your list. Give me a phone call the next time you got a deal and I'll put this to good use. So I connected him with one of our custodians that we utilize for turning his retirement account into like a self-directed IRA, and he was off to the races.
And what's like super cool about that story in particular is that like you'll eventually double or whatever his retirement money. It's really helping him in the long run, which is so cool because that's the whole point, right? It's like it just helping unlock these details. But then I have two other follow-up questions. One is like for the people who are nervous about what they're seeing on social media. I know you mentioned take it with a grain of salt, but like I've just heard people say like, oh, the economy is down. I'm going to hold on to my money. Why is that a bad idea for them to do that?
Well, I don't even necessarily know that I would say it's a bad idea for them to hold on to it.
Yeah,
I would say it goes back to the vivid vision. I feel like it keeps going back. You have to understand what it is you want to do with your money, with your life, with your future, with your end goal. And when you figure that out, everything else is going to fall into place. You're reverse engineering all of it to figure out how you can actually achieve what it is you're looking to do. Most people just go about life wandering and figuring it out as they go. And like, maybe we'll do this over here. And this opportunity seems neat. Let's go check this out. But if they never really understand what they want to do, they can never know what's possible. And so if they understand and know that investing is a possibility for them, that they have cash somewhere that they can take and utilize, or they have equity in a house or in an old investment they made or in their personal residence, and they can take some of that out and invest it, they may have a different thought process. They may be thinking a little bit differently about what that actually looks like. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's saying the most overlooked metric in real estate is like return on equity or something. You know, you could have $300,000 in equity in your personal primary residence because you paid the house off or whatever, and you think that's great. But if we actually did a legit calculation, if we calculated out what you could do with that $300K, if we were to leverage it and reinvest it into another deal, then you realize you're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, just sitting there in your house. And so understanding what it is you can actually do with this money, I think is going to make people have a different take, I guess, a different viewpoint of what that looks like for them. So the specific question of being, why is it a bad idea, or their money just sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything? I feel like I would just say, because I was talking to another guy and he said that he thinks he's going to leave his money on the sidelines, at least for the end of this year. He's going to wait till next year to see what's going on. And I guess it also just depends on your position. Like the guy I was talking to was a multimillionaire and had been investing in all different kinds of asset classes and real estate for like decades. And so for him, he was okay, losing to inflation or having to pay, I guess, a tax bill or maybe he didn't have to because he already had his stuff set up other places. But he was uneasy about taking his cash and investing it into something because he wasn't sure if it was going to get worse and there's going to be a recession and this downturn and blah, blah, blah. And so he was just sitting on the sidelines. Whereas other people are like, look, I think there's going to be more opportunity than there ever has been before in the next couple of months, next 6 to 12 months. And I want to take full advantage of that. They're looking at it from a different lens. But not only that, just looking at it from a different lens isn't the main picture. It actually has to be factual. Like if you say, yeah, there's going to be more opportunity in the next 6 to 12 months. Well, is there actually going to be, or are you just saying that to make yourself feel good because you want to keep investing because other people on social media are continuing to invest? So you have to have the macro and the micro understandings from an economic perspective of what that's actually going to look like in your market, as well as in the United States or wherever it is that you're investing. And if it does make sense for you, and if it does make sense for your investors, then do it. Because there's the flip side of the coin. If you look at Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Yeah. It's like, is this the time to do that? Well, that's something you need to figure out for yourself. You need to do the analysis. You need to do the underwriting. You need to look at the market. You need to look at the deals that you can invest in. Look at the opportunities. Look at what's out there right now, where we're heading, like what's trending, and see if it actually makes sense. And if it makes sense, then execute on it. Don't be someone that's scared because everyone else is saying there's going to be this big recession. So you don't invest, lose out on great opportunity, but then also don't just invest for the sake of investing and being greedy when others are fearful. Make sure it actually makes sense for you. So I don't even know if there's necessarily like a direct answer to the question as much as it is, I think we need to all have knowledge. We need to all educate ourselves on what is actually happening and don't just hear what other people are doing or see what other people are doing and be like, I need to do that because they're doing that, because that may not be the case.
That was fantastic. I was like, wow, no, that was amazing. And that there's a lot even of knowledge into what you're saying. And I do love how you tied it back to the vivid vision, because it is so true. With your reasons, what do you have to stand behind it? And what you have to stand behind it, does it stand behind what you believe in and what you want to do? So thank you so much for that.
Yeah. And another thing too is like, just to kind of tie on to this, is like, it makes me sad when people just defer to their financial planners, because I know there's like so much more potential out there for those people who's like, oh, my financial planner said the stock market is tanking, like hold your money, hold your cash, don't do anything with it. And all I want to do is like provide them with more education. But when they say that, I feel like a door to learn more is shut. And it's because they just defer to their financial planner, which is unfortunate. But like, I do like the point, this is coming to a full circle here in a second, but I do like the point where you said you had to provide education to them, right? Like, so you educate your investor, your list, right? Like your investors and your partners, right? Limited partners, about like the tax benefits of real estate and how amazing they are. You know, your model specifically, like how you're ensuring that your purchasing model like will last through cycles, right? Market cycles, right? Because the perpetuity things we mentioned. Now we do something very similar. Like we get like fixed rate long-term debt in order to we have to worry about like long cycles, like 20-year loans, right? And so we don't have to worry about market cycles either, right? And so there's gonna be multiple cycles things that happen during that 20-year period. And then just educating them on like the control of income, right? Like how it's completely different than the stock market, like because stock market's at the whims of people tweeting certain things and then the stock's changing, right? You're literally go on site and you're like changing things, and then you talk about forced appreciation, right? Like how amazing real estate or multifamily real estate is a business, right? Like you can change things to increase your income, lower your expenses, increase the NOI, which then increases the value of the property. You don't have to base it on comps like a single family residential property has to do. So there's many different things. Is there anything else that I'm missing that you look to educate your investors, your partners on during this time?
The best education piece that I find, and one of my mentors actually told me this, he told me, always try to be the doctor. And I'm like, what are you saying? Be the doctor. Like, no one wants to go to school for 10 years to become a doctor. He's like, not what I'm saying. Always try to be the doctor and diagnose what people's problems are and figure out how you can solve the problem. What I try to look at when I'm having a conversation with someone is maybe not even necessarily like, what's the problem? Like, I want to help you. I don't want to specifically try to zero in on problems that you have with your life or your finances or your family or whatever. I just want to learn more about you. I just want to have a human conversation and get some kind of emotional connection going here. You know, tell me about the family. Tell me about your hobbies. Tell me about your day job. Tell me about the goals. What are the goals, right? Because if your goals are you want to double your money in 6 months, sorry, I don't think I can help you. Our deals are much longer than 6 months. But maybe I can connect you with someone that does fix and flips, that is doing very well for themselves. Maybe I can help you in another way. So for me, it's always trying to come from a place of actually trying to help, as opposed to having a preconceived notion of what they want and how you can help. Instead, trying to be more of an active listener, I guess, and figure out what the actual problem is so you can zero in on how to help, what their goals are, what that actually looks like. Because once we figure all that out, once they start talking about it all and saying this is their problem, and the one guy that said he had a bunch of money but didn't know he could invest in a retirement account, it's like, okay, well, now I know I need to specifically talk about how you can invest in a retirement account. Yeah. Another one who talked about he wanted the benefits of being a real estate professional. So talking about how he could potentially do that, probably gonna need to be a little bit more active in the business to do something like that, but it's something he can do while still working a full-time day job. And he didn't know that. So just figuring out where people are coming from and then educating them from that regard. Because I think one problem a lot of people make is they think everyone has the same problem. They think everyone needs the same answer because they're coming at it like, hey, look, I've got this investment opportunity. I've got this thing that's going to give them an 8 pref and it's going to double their money in 5 years and it's going to be freaking awesome and all the tax benefits. And yeah, sure, it's great for certain people. Those are the people you want to raise the cash from. But when you go and have a conversation with every single person, just immediately starting the conversation off with like how great your deal is and how they need to get involved, it's just like a turnoff. No one wants to be like pitched. They want to feel like they're a part of something. They want to feel like they're a part of you, connecting with you and your team and your greater impact or your greater goal or your greater why behind it, which all goes into branding as well, figuring out what your brand is. Anyway, long-winded version of saying I would just figure out what their problem is. So then I can figure out how to tailor the education so that it is something that is actually beneficial for them, because maybe it's not.
Yeah. And just even for the listeners out there, like if you are, wanting to be a limited partner for the first time, like that's something to think about too, like what you are looking for and why, and like, have you made that connection with the people that you're investing with? Because it is huge. And if you aren't wanting that connection, that is totally okay too. But at least figure out then like what your metrics and criteria are so that you can just keep doing it one and done. Totally up to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, that was how to be the doctor.
Well,
How to be
life
a doctor.
even. You could use that for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
could be anything, any area that you're in.
Yeah, and I definitely struggle utilizing it in areas that I probably should. I
We all
feel like
do, don't
I'm
worry. Yeah, right when you said that, I was like, shoot.
But it's great because and you're learning how to cook and how to make yourself better, which is awesome. So anyways, thank you so much, Josh. It's been a pleasure having you on again. But before we end the show and move into our adventures, 4 questions. These are 4 exploratory questions. That's all of our guests. So
And this one's gonna be rapid fire.
ready, Josh. Rapid fire. Here we go.
Yep.
Are you
You're ready. Ready?
Let's do it.
Number 1 is, I'm sure all these has changed since last year. So
Shoot.
I'm excited to do it again. So anyways, questions haven't changed, but I know the answers have. Question number 1. Where's one place you wish to travel to and why?
I wish to travel to. Oh, I don't know what I said last time. I wish I knew the answer that I gave last time so I could know if it changed. I feel like one place I'd like to go to is definitely Italy. Just the heritage of me being a Ferrari. I would love to know what it's like to live in a city, like in the heritage of the Ferrari. So I don't speak Italian. I like Italian food, but I've never been there. So I feel like that would be an adventure of a lifetime.
I feel like that was your answer. So the first time.
We're gonna find out.
Obviously.
We'll look back
Right.
and like,
Right. So-
Anyways, I don't know. Being a Ferrari and how you want to that's cool.
So the second question is, what is something on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Jeez, I really wish I knew my answers last time. My bucket list, I think something on my bucket list is to do an RV trip for months at a time. Just get in an RV and spend like 3 months just RVing, just anywhere. Go to all the national parks. I've never been any further west than Texas. I've gone to Canada, but I never really went anywhere northern US. I've never been to like New York. I've never been to Colorado or Wyoming or any of those states that has like skiing and stuff. Never been skiing. I feel like a lot of that would be fun. Never been to California. I've got an uncle that lives in California. Never been there. So there's a lot of places I haven't gone that I think I would love to go and that I think we would enjoy just being on the road. And honestly, I don't really like road trips. But I feel like it would be different with an RV because you just live there. Like you're already at home and you're driving home to your new home. So I just feel like it would be a different concept. And on top of that, we now have 2 RV parks under contract right now. So I would just love to learn more about what other RV parks are doing, if nothing else, to just help our business and kind of feel the lifestyle and what I would like to have in a park so that we can put it in our parks, right?
Yeah.
No, I like that. And you get to like make your legs straight whenever you need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's like business. It's like, it would be like business, but not really business, right? It's like a leisure business trip.
I like this.
Third question we have for you, Josh, is what is one piece of advice for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate? I feel like I already know this answer, but
Passively investing. I guess just figure out what you want.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is that it's actually going to, because you don't really, if you go into a conversation, I've had multiple conversations with passive investors and they didn't really know what they wanted. I'm trying to be the doctor, right? But they don't even know what their symptoms are. They don't even know, oh, I got a cough. Wait, no, I don't have a cough. Wait, yeah, I do. No, I don't. What do you have? I don't understand what it is that you actually want. And they're like, well, I don't even really understand what I want. Or if I have the money to invest, or there's just a lot of uncertain people out there. And I think comprehending and fully understanding what it is that you want long-term isn't going to solve all the problems. Figuring out what you want long-term isn't just going to suddenly, make you achieve any of the goals. It's just at that point going to make things more clear for you. You're going to see things better, like removing the scales from your eyes to be able to see, yes, this is actually going to help me achieve what I want, as opposed to being like people having to sell you on things like, hey, this is really going to benefit you. This is really going to benefit you. This is really going to benefit you. Because all the ads in the world, right? Everyone wants to take your money. Everyone wants your business. Everyone wants this and that. And if you don't know what you want, then you're just going to succumb to being like, well, they say this is really awesome. Must be really awesome. Let's do that. And I think figuring out what actually is awesome for you would help.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you. So then the fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
If I had unlimited resources, I feel like I would be spending more time doing and giving and less time doing anything business related. I've got unlimited resources. Who cares at that point? I don't even want to be an entrepreneur anymore. I just want to be the guy that's out there, because a lot of people want to give to different charities and they want to donate to different things, and all that stuff's great. I want to do that as well. But one thing I've always felt like I wanted to do outside of just that is actually be the person that
Do it.
does it.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I can give $1 million to someone or a team of people in California or East, West, South Africa or wherever to do these different things and dig wells and create water and build homes. I can do all that, or I can be out there building a home and digging the well and doing the thing. To me, I always felt like that was going to be a greater impact for all parties involved, because it'd be more beneficial for me and the people actually being able to be there on site, impactful for all lives, as opposed to just giving a ton of money to someone else to do the work. If that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. That's how I feel. So I get it. So thank you.
Yeah. Because you said you wanted to volunteer more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I totally get it. I do.
Absolutely. So Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us again. Yeah. I talked about vision for a side. Now we talked about how to be the doctor on the show, and it was just awesome. Every time we talk to you, it's been incredible. I always joke that you're the 45-year-old, 25-year-old. So
You're like the Dalai Lama.
Is that really what you guys say?
I just made that up on the spot.
I was about to say the 45-year-old, 25-year-old. Sometimes people are always surprised that I'm 25, but I feel like they're surprised from both angles. It's like you're only 25 and you've done all these things, or it's like you're 25 and you've done all this and you haven't really lived life. And I'm like, I've definitely lived life. They're like, you should just be a kid. I'm like, trust me, there was plenty of kid activities had back in high school and college. Now's not the time to be fooling around. Now's the time to get serious.
With that.
But yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on the show again.
Absolutely. Before we end the show, would you mind sharing with our listeners how they can find out more about you?
Yeah, you can go on we actually have 2 websites now. We're weird. We have our primary website, Ferrari Capital, which is everything active investor. The podcast is on there, the blogs, the newsletter, all the ebook, the resources, finding out more about the mentoring program that I have. But if you don't want to be active, we have created a separate website called 3 Beach Capital. Actually, it's just 3beach.com. THREE beach.com. That's all like specifically for the passive investor. You can find our investor portal and data, resources, tools, all about becoming more passive and what that might look like for you. So those are the 2 best ways.
Cool. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure to have those in the show notes so that you can just click on it very easily and get to it, because Josh is great. So please, if anything, reach out to have a call with him, because he's a great person to just work with
And
have podcasts with. Yeah. And no.
thanks again, Josh. I appreciate it. Until next time, explore more, venture waves.